Here's TV's popular Top Gear gang driving their way down Fake Street.
Richard?
What?
Richard, have you got a fire extinguisher?
No, why? How in the name of...
God in heaven, man.
Put it out, put it out.
Put it out. Where's the oven? Use the oven glove.
No, because it's on fire now. I've made it worse.
That was hilarious. But was it real? Well, no, of course it wasn't. Health and safety would never give them permission to do that. It was a setup. But do you really care? After all, it's not like documentaries have ever provided 100% manifestations of some absolute truth.
For instance, Nanook of the North, widely regarded as the first documentary, was a bunch of lies from beginning to end, with faked igloo scenes, a different wife cast as Nanook's squeeze, and Eskimos using spears instead of the rifles that were commonplace. And in Night Mail, one of the most famous docs in the history of British docitude, all the interior train scenes were shot in a studio.
Badly dressed.
This is the Night Mail crossing the border, bringing the
Lies,
check and the
truth
postal
distorter,
order, letters for
bullshit,
the rich,
bullshit,
letters for the poor,
fake,
shop at the
liar,
corner of the girl next door.
Bollocks! Even when what you're seeing is effectively real life, as in Paul Watson's groundbreaking fly-on-the-wall doc The Family, it's still only real life as captured by a film crew.
It is going to be a tremendous intrusion into your privacy, because we will film everything.
Of course, the minute you bring a camera into the equation, you've altered reality, because everybody's behaviour changes slightly. It's a bit like when there's a phenomenally pretty girl in the room and all the men start acting like cool dicks in an attempt to impress her. Don't you hate it when they do that, yeah? Cameras aren't the only thing that can alter reality. Today's schedules are heaving with troubleshooter guru shows in which the narrative is always essentially the same. Knight in shining armour turns up and stops someone messing up their life. But what if reality doesn't conform to the story?
What if we were making a guru show about a nanny, for instance, and for the purposes of the story we needed shots of the kids being unruly for the start of the show, but they weren't being unruly?
We could do something to upset them.
Snatch away their favourite toy, for instance, so they kick off and we have lots of shots of the suburban hell that's about to be tamed.
I'm not saying that guru shows do that, I'm just saying I would. At the end of the day, the whole problem with the debate about truth, or lack of it on TV, is that it's such a fuzzy morass of a subject. It's less to do with truth and more to do with acceptable levels of artifice. Ultimately, I suppose it's best to treat it all with a healthy degree of scepticism. Oh, it's a squirrel. Oh, look at this squirrel. Oh.
The X Factor has become as much a part of Britain's calendar as Wimbledon, the Grand National and the Tewkesbury Parsnip Stomping Contest.
It's a bona fide institution, by which I mean a home for the mentally ill.
The early editions contain scenes reminiscent of some kind of futuristic fascist rally as Simon and the judges roll into town like chosen prophets, driving thousands of simpletons into a frenzy of ecstatic hysteria.
It's like Nuremberg for dummies. But this time around there was controversy from the off.
The panel of judges had changed. Judge Death was still there, of course, as was Sharon Osbourne, the TV equivalent of a mad aunt at a wedding. But putty-faced Louis Walsh was gone because he'd been sacked. Taking his place were Brian Friedman, a sort of meerkat approximation of Justin Timberlake.
And Danny Minogue, who's got so many letter I's at the end of her name. I always think you're supposed to pronounce her name like you're falling down a manhole cover in the middle of it, like Danny! Oh, there was also another change. Dermot Q. Thingy is presenting instead of Kate Hoojamer Boobs. Apparently he's a really nice guy.
At first it seemed to be business as usual. The public still queued in droves and jumped up and down making X signs like pillocks, and the judges still came across as utter bastards.
So far so but apparently all was not right.
And it lies in the makeup of the new judging panel.
I just don't feel any chemistry.
Simon had an uncomfortable feeling in his gut and took immediate action.
I need to take a break.
Or maybe he was just going for a shit, I can't really tell.
In a completely spontaneous, unplanned decision, Simon and the producers decided to bring back Louis Walsh.
You're going to bring back Louis Walsh?
See? Incredibly, some cynics claimed his return might have been a manufactured stunt, but they don't even believe wrestling's real.
After ITV admitted they'd shot pickups of some of the behind-the-scenes sequences, Simon defended the show, saying, "What you see is what happened. It's raw and we don't censor." Now, I never realised that X Factor was part of Lars von Trier's Dogma 95 movement, but there you go. Thing is, there was loads of raw, uncensored stuff I was now expecting to see, but didn't.
For example, I hoped we might get to see the production team pre-auditioning the hopefuls. I'd always assumed they cherry-pick the best and most laughable candidates before the celebrity judges get to see them, but apparently not. No, what you see is what happened, so Simon and co presumably sit through sing-songs from every one of this lot. While the judges are watching, we see lots of reaction shots of them gawping in disbelief. Now, I'm so cynical, I always assumed they scoured through the rushes until they found a suitably hilarious facial expression, and that these weren't necessarily shots of them reacting to precisely the bit of the song we're hearing.
But no, because what you see is what happened, which is weird because the other week what I saw was this.
Dan. 4 yeses, you're through.
Nothing unusual there, just Danny Minogue impersonating a squeaky gate, but then a minute later...
I want to say yes.
So presumably what you see is what happened, it's just that sometimes it happened twice. Another key element of the X Factor is the heart-tugging human interest stories.
But Emily is not only lucky to be auditioning, she's lucky to be alive.
But you largely only ever seem to hear them from singers who turn out to be good.
Well, what about the ones who get the piss taken out of them?
We rarely get to hear about the tragic side of their lives, presumably because it might make comments like this sound a bit less funny.
It was horrendous. It was just weird.
Yeah, and your mum's dead. There are so many tragic tales in the show, I'm surprised they don't go the whole hog and ditch the singing and turn it into Britain's biggest sob story. Actually, that reminds me of a really tragic sob story I saw the other day.
If you hit me at 40 miles an hour, there's around an 80% chance I'll die.
Well, I've seen this advert so often now I'm completely desensitised I can just eat my way through it. What's odd about the X Factor is that despite being precisely the same every year, it grows in popularity with each series. It's as predictable as a metronome, each time the same deluded no-hopers, the same god-awful churning, warbling shit which is apparently good.
This love has taken its toll on me. She said goodbye too many times before.
He's really good.
You're so cute. Yes.
I'm going to say yes.
The same catty put-down.
The wigs, the... whatever.
Every time it's simply more of the same, and that probably is the reason for its success. Because in a troubled world with an uncertain future, it's comforting to know that there's a place where, for at least an hour, you know exactly what you're going to get. Sometimes more than once. Isn't that right, Danny? Well, that's about all we've got time for. Be sure to tune in next time when we'll be looking at... Oh, no, sorry. Sorry, I forgot. We're not allowed to end our own show like this anymore. Since these came in, the BBC's new end credit guidelines. Actually, that is one of the things we're going to be looking at next week, why marketing piss like this is steadily infecting everything on television. And now, since I'm not allowed to talk during my own end credits anymore, just in case they feel like crushing the picture up or jabbering all over it, you're just going to have to stare at me saluting the New World Order for 30 seconds.
So here I go again, talking over the end credits. I'll keep it short. Charlie's back next Tuesday at 10. Next on BBC 4, well worth a watch, Iraq in Fragments.